First of all, explain to us, what did the Attorney General say, or write, I guess is more accurate, that has the Brady Center so upset?
Well, this complaint that was filed on Tuesday by the Brady Center to Prevent Gun Violence and Common Cause rises from a letter that Attorney General Ashcroft wrote to the National Rifle Association in May, in which he directly contradicted the position of the United States on the legal meaning and effect of the Second Amendment. He directly contradicted the position that they have taken in a criminal case that's currently being decided by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit.
So what does this complaint ask for in terms of a remedy? What would you like to see happen to Attorney General Ashcroft?
What we'd like is an investigation. This complaint was filed with the D.C. Bar Counsel's Office and with the Inspector General's Office of the Department of Justice. It explains the legal ethics violations that we believe were committed by his contradiction of his own client, the United States, position in this important criminal case about the meaning and effect of the Second Amendment. So we want an investigation, just like you would have if there was a legal ethics violation by any other attorney.
An ethics investigation with what kind of penalty if you know, in the event that the investigation comes out the way that you hope that it might?
That would be totally up to the authorities involved, just
okay.
as it would be in any other instance.
Okay, Larry Pratt, why is Alan Rostron and the Brady Center misguided in all of this? And does it really matter that the Attorney General would be talking about a case that's still pending?
I think it's a frivolous complaint. The fact of the matter is that the client, the United States, changed lawyers in the middle of the case. There was an election under our doctrine of the separation of powers. We now have a new president, and his man, who was opposed bitterly by the Brady Center when he was nominated, has expressed his opinion, which he had held before. It's well known that he has this individual rights view. I wish that he actually would take a different position on the case, which he said he won't. But the fact of the matter is they view anybody that holds to the individual rights view of the Second Amendment, protecting my individual right to keep and bear arms, as a terrorist like Timothy McVeigh, which I guess means they think George Washington was a terrorist. So they're just unhappy they lost the election, and I think they ought to get over it.
All right, now wait 1 second, because a federal judge, Larry Pratt, threw out the charges in this case last year, saying that the Second Amendment did in fact give individuals the right to bear arms. But there have been plenty of other courts in this country who have said that it is a collective right. So are we ever going to have a consensus on this, individual right or collective right?
Well, we had a consensus when the country was founded. The founders were extremely explicit in what they meant by the Second Amendment as a protection of an individual right to keep and bear arms. And even their reference to militia, it was clearly a reference to individuals being in the militia. George Mason, a friend of George Washington, said at the ratifying convention in Virginia that all individuals, all persons are in the militia except for a few public officials. So if you go back and you look at the historical record, what the founders themselves said, what the state constitutions, the state laws, what the legal traditions from England were, it all makes it very clear that it's an individual right. So the idea that it's somehow the right of a state to have a militia is something that's cropped up pretty much in recent times. It's an effort by courts to make law, and obviously we're not going to support that.
All right, Alan Rostron, let me give you a chance to jump in here. Do you want to respond to what Larry Pratt has said? Basically that this is sour grapes on your part for losing the election?
Absolutely not. First of all, there is a mountain of unanimous legal precedent from the U.S. Supreme Court and every single federal appellate court that has ever considered this issue. They have all said that the Second Amendment only applies to possession and use of guns in connection with organized public military activity. Now, in this case, in Texas going on, you have a criminal defendant on one side, and he is supported by the National Rifle Association, a brief that they filed for him. On the other side of the case, you have the United States. Ashcroft essentially attempted to chop the legs out from under the position of his own client, the United States in this case. Now, Mr. Pratt says that, of course, we have a new administration in place, and we are not saying that it's a violation of legal ethics to disagree with us about what the Second Amendment means, or a violation of legal ethics for a new administration to disagree with the old one and to change policies. But there's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that. There's a way that's consistent with the rules of legal ethics, and there's a way that's not. And Mr. Ashcroft chose the way that's not.
All right, let me just pull you both off of this topic for one quick second, because we have a minute left, and ask you a more general question about a recent study that shows that there are fewer people who are buying guns than there were this time last year, fewer background checks than there were this time a year ago. What's going on here? Alan Rostron, you first. Are there fewer people buying guns? What do you think this means?
There may be. You know, we don't consider that terribly significant because the purpose of our gun laws is, and the proposals that we're supporting, is not to stop anyone and everyone from getting a gun. It's to keep guns out of the wrong hands, particularly out of the hands of children and criminals who are not supposed to have them.
Larry Pratt, let me give you a chance to jump in on this before we have to call it.
Well, an anti-gun scholar, Jens Ludwig, published in the Anti-Gun Journal of the American Medical Association results of a study which showed that the Brady laws had no effect in reducing crime. In fact, Britain, which has a gun ban, has found a 40% increase in crimes involving guns just in the last year, from 1999 to 2000.
How's your membership at the Gun Owners of America? How's that doing? Has it gone up or down, or is it
Oh, it's increased. Definitely the notion that people actually are trying to take your guns away doesn't sit well with the American people.
All right. Alan Rostron and Larry Pratt. Gentlemen, thanks both of you for talking to us today.